This is to commemorate the two war veterans, the war heroes, John William Ormsby and Horace Waller. Both won Victoria Crosses in the First World War. It's very much overdue. It's a very important day today, perhaps one of the biggest days that Dewsbury has seen for a long time. One of the reasons for this is because it's 100 years too late, in my opinion. But commemorate and remember them. We will. Yes, it's very important to remember them.
As Mayor of Kirklees, but as a retired Major in the Royal Signals, it's a great honour to be welcoming the 3rd Battalion, the Rifles, to the Borough. 71 years after their predecessors, the King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry were granted the freedom of the former boroughs of Dewsbury and Batley. It's a very welcome opportunity to refresh and cement our relationships with their successors, the Rifles. The past Mayor of Dewsbury, Councillor William Henry Hooper, said in 1946, and I quote, that granting the honour was a gesture and symbol of grateful recognition by the people of Dewsbury and Batley to all members of the fighting services in whatever branch of the arm they played their part. I am proud to repeat those words as they are still relevant today as they were then. The parade is also a fitting time to mark the brave contribution of two local men 100 years ago. The Victoria Cross is the highest and most prestigious military decoration awarded for valour in the face of the enemy, to those serving in British and Commonwealth Armed Forces. In 2013, the UK government announced that those recipients of the Victoria Cross for their heroic deeds in the First World War are to be honoured with commemorative paving stones.
At Fayvet, France, during operations which culminated in the capture of an important position, Sergeant Ormsby, acting as Company Sergeant Major, showed complete indifference to the heavy machine gun and rifle fire and set a fine example. After clearing a village, he pushed on and drove out many snipers from localities further forward. When the only surviving officer was wounded, he took command of the company and led them forward under heavy fire for 400 yards to a new position, holding it until relieved.
Private H. Waller, Victoria Cross, the 10th Battalion, the King's Own, Yorkshire Light Infantry. For the most conspicuous bravery, with a bombing section forming a block with the enemy line, a very violent counterattack was made by the enemy on this post, and although 5 of the small garrisons were killed, Private Waller continued to throw bombs for more than an hour. And then the enemy again counterattacked the post, and all the garrisons became casualties. except Private Waller, who, although wounded later, continued to throw bombs for another half an hour until he was killed. Throughout these attacks, he showed utmost valour, and due to this determination that the attacks on this important post were repulsed. Private H. Waller, Victoria Cross, was born at Batley, Dewsbury on the 23rd of September 1897. He enlisted on the 30th of May 1916, and he was killed in action in France on the 10th of April 1917, south of Henningham. The Victoria Cross was awarded to him posthumously.
These two men were not superheroes with great powers, but were just like you and me. They had their dreams of a future and no doubt felt fear. But they came and they stood up to the plate and they did their duty. It may be 100 years since those heroic acts, but we cannot and we must not forget to honour the heroes Sergeant John William Ormsby VC and Private Horace Waller VC. It is really fitting that with us today we have relatives of these brave men. On behalf of a grateful nation, I'd like to thank you all for doing your duty in protecting our citizens and our nation. I am sure you will all show these brave troops how much you appreciate them as they march through the town. Thank you.
No.